Good morning. Here I am in my sewing room on a Tuesday morning, and I'm going to show you my double seat panty video here. I'm going to make this video for you. I promised that I would do this. And so I'm using the double seat panty pattern by Ginger Snaps Designs. I am going to use this nice pink poly cotton, and I'm going to put a ruffle on the side of the seat of these panties for you. Instead of around the legs, I'm going to do this on the seat. I'm not going to monogram or put any design on the seat of them because I'm not really sure who they're for. So we're just going to do this little ruffle for this video. So this is, I've already prepared, I cut a strip the width of this fabric, and I just did a rolled edge, a 3-thread rolled edge on it to hem this, and then I did an 1/8 and 3/8, 2 rows of basting stitches. And this will be gathered up to do my ruffle when we're started. But I just like to go ahead and get that out of the way, have it ready for when I do the seat of the panties. So I will get started and I will cut these out, and then I will show you what I do after that. As you can see here, I have cut out the back and the front, and I have cut a rectangle here to cut out the double back piece to put on. And I have lined it with German interfacing from Farmhouse Fabrics, and this is the right side. I'm going to fold this in half, and then I'm going to lay this piece on and cut it out, and then we'll progress. Okay, here is the double seat part cut out. We're going to turn under a 1/4 inch seam here and a 1/4 inch fold, actual fold, not a seam, a 1/4 inch on both of these sides, and I'm going to go press that down, and when I come back I'm going to use my wonderful glue stick, and I'm going to glue that down to the back side of this. Here you can see I have folded and pressed down this 1/4 inch, and on this side I've done the same thing, but I've used my glue stick and I've glued it down because I want it to stay down flat, because I'm going to be adding lace up under, or my ruffle up under that, and so I don't want to have to be fighting 2 things at one time. So you just glue it down. When you turn this over, you can see you have a nice edge, and that lace, that ruffle will go right up under there. So I'll continue and do the other side, and then we'll place it on the back seat of the panties. Okay, here I have pressed the back panty piece, and I have laid the double seat part over this, and that's exactly how it fits on here. Now I'm going to gather up my ruffle, and I'm going to put it here, and I'm going to measure this width of this panty, and I'm going to either double it or half it, add 1.5 times or double it. I'll just see, it depends on how much I want it gathered, and then I'll let you know. And I'm making a size small because I don't know who I'm making it for, so it really goes into the great-grandmother chest, so we'll see. Here you can see I have gathered up my ruffle, and I have pinned it. If you don't have a lace shaping board, you really should have one, because this takes all the work and fight out of it when you're trying to hold it and you're trying to ruffle it and pin it. It just doesn't work. So if you can have a lace shaping board, and Farmhouse Fabric sells these, you can get them other places as well, but that's where I buy all my things and get all my things, so I know whether they have them. And it is so easy then to just pin this, tuck this ruffle under, and then you just pin it down, and it makes it so much easier. And this board can be used for pinning ruffles, doing your pinning your smocking, doing your lace shaping, doing Madeira applique. It is used for many, many things, and so it just makes your life much easier. So I highly recommend having a lace shaping board. Now I've pinned these ruffles, and I'm going to go back and lift out the pin, and I'm going to pin them to the back, and then I will take it to the machine and I will sew it. Here you can see I have added the ruffles to both sides. I've stitched them down. I used a 3.0 twin needle, and you can see how pretty it looks once they're stitched down. Now we're going to sew the crotch together, and then we'll put the binding around the legs. I'll have to cut strips of bias binding, and we'll put those around, put our elastic in, then we'll sew our side seams and do our waist, and these panties will be finished. But this is the gist of how you do the double seat, and they're really, really easy. So I suggest, and I highly recommend, that you make these to go with your little dresses. They're really quick. You don't even have to, this pattern has it so that you don't have to do the double seat in them if you don't want to, but I think this is really pretty. So hope you enjoyed this little video, and I'll continue on, and when they're finished I will show them to you. Just want to add that when you're pinning the crotch together, in the directions it said that you can put a machine stitch gathering row across the bottom of the crotch and pull that up to make them fit, but I don't do that. I just work it in, and I sewed the other pair, and I didn't have any little, but you can see there's little bubbles here, but you can work those out as you're stitching, and I really didn't have to if you want to save time, but if you want to be really precise, go ahead and run your your row of gathering stitches there and pull them up to match, to fit. I just pin it in the center. I make sure that two pieces match in the center, and then I just bring it over to the edge, and then I go back and pin them. And so that's how I do mine. Here you can see that I have the crotch sewn. Now I have cut my bias band strips, and I have pinned them on. In the directions it says you can run a gathering stitch around this to pull it up to fit this if you want to. I don't take that extra step. I take this bias band to the ironing board, and I give it a really good press, steam press in a circle, and this is how it comes out. And I did not have a little, you can pin it really well, and as you're sewing it, they will work right out, and that just saves you an extra step. But you know, if you feel uncomfortable with doing that, then go ahead and do your gathering stitch and pull it up and baste it, and then, or baste it and pull it up and then pin it to your panties, and you'll sew this down. Now this strip, it says in the directions, the width of this bias strip is 1 inch plus twice the seam allowance. So if we're using a 1/4 inch elastic, the seam allowance is a 1/2 inch. So therefore, I added another inch. So I made this bias strip 2 inches, pressed it in half, and now I'm going to sew a 1/2 inch seam here, allowance. So I'll go take that to the machine, sew it up, and be right back. I have sewn this seam around. As you can see, I didn't have any little gathers in it or anything. And so now I'm going to trim this down to a 1/4 inch, and then I'm going to fold it under, press it under good, so that this part is now going to face to the inside like this, and also right along the edge of this to make a casing for my elastic. Okay, here's my panties all finished. Here's the back of them. So sweet. Here's the front. They're just as cute as they can be. Like these little panties. Like I said, they're really super. You could put a name right here. You could put a design of some sort. Be really cute. Lace shaping on it and anything. It's just really cute. They make great for embroidery. And I'm just going to tell you, when I come to the, once I finished, I turned over the inside leg and sewed the casing. I do not follow the pattern at that point. I go ahead and sew the casing, run the elastic through, I tack it down on each end as I pull it through, and then I sew the side, I trim that elastic kind of close, and then I trim the side seams, and so I sew the side seams, and then I trim them and serge them. And that elastic's not coming out, and it's not really bulky on the side. It's just, as you can see, it just goes together, and it's not, it's much easier, I think, than what the pattern direction calls for. And then I turn down the top, I serged the edge, folded it over, stitched it down, run the elastic through the casing, and they were all finished. I'm all about saving time and steps, and if this works for you, great. If you have to follow the pattern, that's great too. But I hope this helps you in some way. Thanks for joining me.